2nd of July 2023. In this news flash I want to talk about Wagner again. Now every commentator and analyst and reporter has been speculating about that whole Wagner, I'm going to call it fiasco. It wasn't really a fiasco, I still believe it was a plan. But there's something that I want to share, and I'm going to be adventurous and also try and give you my perspective of what has happened there. The fact is that the Russian law prohibits PMCs to operate on Russian soil. That's important to take note of. And after the referendums in those 4 oblasts in eastern Ukraine in the Donbass, and the subsequent joining of the Russian Federation, that region became Russian soil. So legally, Wagner was operating illegally. And that was a problem, and that was why the Russian MOD issued the notice that the Wagner soldiers must sign contracts with the MOD. Now that was a big problem for Prigozhin. The fact that he doesn't like Shoigu is internationally known. And Prigozhin was afraid that the Russian MOD is going to absorb Wagner and rob him of the PMC. Now whether that was part of the plan, I wouldn't know. I don't really think that was the main aim. I still think it was just to get past that legality problem of PMC soldiers on a Russian soil. Be it as it may, keep that in mind, and then think about this. Wagner was moved to Belarus. Prigozhin was moved to Belarus, and a lot of the Wagner people followed him there. And what is important to take note of, the Wagner guys moved with all their equipment. Equipment that actually belongs to the Russian army. They moved with all their equipment there. Plus, since I would say around about August of 2022, I saw frequent articles of Russian military equipment being shipped into Belarus. Trains full of it. And there's not that many Russian soldiers in Belarus. And I always wondered, what was the reason for all that equipment going there? And now, the Wagner group is moved into Belarus, and they will have all that equipment available. So I still think it was a clever plan to get Wagner into Belarus without raising too many questions about their transfer from the Donbass to Belarus. So that's my opinion. And you can think about it. I've given you the reasons why I feel like that, and you can think about it and apply your own mind, because that whole Wagner thing didn't make sense to me. Not at all. Because there was way too many things that looked and sounded weird. I saw one of the videos from Patrick Lancaster, and he was in Rostov-on-Don. And he said that when Russian military officers walked past the Wagner guys came to attention and saluted his officers. Is that a coup? Don't tell me that shit. I don't believe it. In any case, that's beside the point. But let's listen to what is now happening And first we've got the MI6. Now there's a lot of stories about how capable and efficient MI6 is, and I mean there's many of the Russian channels that make jokes of MI6. MI6 sent new intelligence to the Office of the President and the General Staff that the entry of PMC Wagner into Belarus is directed against the plans of Ukraine, Poland, Lithuania to deploy a corps on the borders of western Ukraine. British intelligence is sure that a new military unit of 30,000 to 40,000 people will be formed in Belarus, the main task of which will be a new campaign against Kiev at the time of difficulties of the armed forces of Ukraine on the southern front. The equipment for these units has long been in Belarus. It was filled up during 2022-2023. Interesting message. And that 30,000 to 40,000 people will be formed. They are there. Then we have this, more about the British intelligence. British intelligence believes that a unit of up to 40,000 people may be formed on the territory of the Republic of Belarus, the basis of which will consist of the Wagner forces. They will be provided with equipment which has been brought to the territory of Belarus from Russia for a long time. The aim of the new formation could be Kiev and prevent the deployment of an international brigade in western Ukraine. And then we've got this from Info Defense, and I like that channel. They, as a rule, they're not too far away from the truth. There will be 3 large camps of Wagner PMC in the Republic of Belarus, one near the town of Osipovichi. The other 2 places have not been determined, but it will definitely be the western regions of the country, given the aggressive rhetoric of Poland. The main task of Wagner PMC is enhanced combat training of the Belarusian security forces. I'm confident that when all the field camps will be fully equipped and the full-fledged training process will begin, the Poles should not look towards Belarus at all. And then I get this from Russell Texas Bentley. This guy, he is sometimes very aggressive, and he is a firm Bogosian fan, and he doesn't like some of the players in the Russian MOD. And he says, this is from Misha in Donbass. The Supreme Court confirmed the phenomenal economic efficiency of the Wagner Group. About $1 billion per year. American PMCs and their military officials are nervously swallowing a lump in their throats. 1 billion, Carl. Perhaps this amount includes, among other things, units abroad. Then all economists from other similar structures can only shoot themselves. When the Americans are preparing another aid, they send military trash, for example, for $5 billion, which the same Wagners grinded almost without noticing. And each delivery of Ukrovoyak to the same Britain or France for training in the amount of 10 to 20,000 people cost either comparable or more. Hello, leopards. We had a practically free, most effective army in the world, friends. That is something that you should take note of. With the cost of that Wagner, and whether you like them or not, or what your opinion is of them, that's immaterial. The fact is, those guys, they can fight. And then I've got this. For the Belarusian military, this will be a valuable learning experience. Another practice of Wagner training of the armies of African states showed an increase in their combat effectiveness after undergoing combat training programs. 2. Actual combat experience will be transferred, which was obtained in many months of battles against the NATO proxy army using modern NATO weapons. 3. Thus, PMC Wagner will continue to exist in the old and new capacity. The Belarusian army will gain valuable combat experience and the western borders of the Union state will be strengthened. And I think the Poles really need to sit under a tree and think. They are cruising for a bruising. And for those that don't follow things so closely, just think about this. This Wagner force is now 100 kilometers away from Kiev. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.